Motherfuckers who bring this shit up, like people who bring this shit up, don't understand. Like, dude, okay, like this is terrible. You're absolutely right. Thank God Israel has the Iron Dome, right? Whereas like the Palestinians have nothing. They have nothing. Here, yeah, here's the comparison, dude. How do you guys like that? You think that's the same, boys? They don't got no Iron Dome. They don't have the fourth largest army behind them, nor do they have the largest armies backing. Is that white phosphorus? I don't know. Probably not, right? Those are our tax dollars at play here. That's the other part of it. Like, no, I don't think it's white phosphorus. These are our tax dollars at play, boys. Perhaps if the illegal settlers are scared of Hamas, they should evacuate, like they enjoy telling Palestinians to do. Yeah, that's not going to happen, obviously. Like, I don't pay taxes, joke's on you. Dozens and dozens of armed Israelis are surrounding Sheikh Jarrah. 2 of them walked into my yard. Police have brought dogs with them. Unusual. Our minds are with Gaza. Tax dollars to Palestine are also being used to destroy Israel, boys. What? Dude, the aid to Gaza and Palestine was so low under the Donald Trump administration that Israel literally had to step in and ask for more money for Gaza. Like, I'm not even kidding. The Trump administration cut off nearly all aid to Palestine. Yeah. The U.S. stopped all aid to Palestinians in West Bank and Gaza in 2019, which was only $200 million of U.S. aid to Palestinians. Not like weapons, by the way, just fucking flour and shit. Okay? And even Israel stepped in and asked for more for the Palestinians. Perry Weiss also said this depraved shit. Mass slaughter of citizens is one of Zionism's political responsibilities of power, says Barry Weiss. The result of this mess, as always, are especially bad for the Palestinians who live under Hamas rule. Casualty reports are hard to verify because Hamas controls the media, even international press inside the Gaza Strip. But it appears that more than 50 Palestinians have been killed. Some of these people are entirely innocent non-combatants, including children. This is an unspeakable tragedy. It is also one of the unavoidable burdens of political power, of Zionism's dream turned into the reality of self-determination. I mean, I think that's honest. At least she's fucking honest about her bloodthirsty fascist take on Zionism. It's honest, boys. What do you want? It's literally fucking honest. What is this? Phosphorus confirmed. Shabab correspondent. I don't know what this is. The occupation fires artillery and phosphorus shells east of El Sanati and Kuza east of Khan Yunis. Rashida Tlaib is speaking on the floor right now. Israel used white phosphorus before. Oh yeah, Human Rights Watch covered this in the past. Israel extensively using white phosphorus, which is a war crime, by the way, in December 2009 in its military occupation or its military operation.
More because of my country's policies and funding will deny this mother's right to see children live, her own children live without fear and to grow old without painful trauma and violence. We must condition aid to Israel on compliance with international human rights and end the apartheid. We must, with no hesitation, demand that our country recognize the unconditional support of Israel has enabled the erasure of Palestinian life and the denial of the rights of millions of refugees and emboldens the apartheid policies that Human Rights Watch has detailed thoroughly in their recent report. I stand before you not only as a congresswoman for the beautiful 13 districts strong, but also as a proud daughter of Palestinian immigrants and the granddaughter of a loving Palestinian grandmother living in the occupied Palestine. You take that and you combine it with the fact that I was raised in one of the most beautiful, blackest cities in America, a city where movements for civil rights and social justice are birthed, the city of Detroit. So I can't stand here. I can't stand silent when injustice exists, where the truth is obscured. If there's one thing Detroit instilled in this Palestinian girl from Southwest, it's you always speak truth to power even if your voice shakes. The freedom of Palestinians is connected to the fight against oppression all over the world. Lastly, to my city in Palestine, Ashanik, Anawak of Hannah, I stand here because of you. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you very much, Representative Tlaib, for your very personal words about the situation in Palestine. Next, I would like to yield 5 minutes to my colleague, the Pride of Minnesota, Representative Ilhan Omar.
Thank you, Congressman Mark Pocan. And I want to extend my gratitude to Marie Newman for helping lead this important discussion. And I want to thank all of the members who are here who showed up in solidarity. Mr. Speaker, As someone who has experienced war firsthand, I have deep understanding of the suffering that comes along with it. As a child, I lived through a violent civil war.
Hold on, I want to show you guys something, okay? You want to know what it looks like when you don't have fucking shelters? You want to know what it looks like when you don't have fucking shelters, dude? When you don't have the Iron Dome and you don't have shelters, dude? This is what it looks like when Israel is bombing your city. You need to see it. You need to see this shit, dude. Just for the record, for all of the endless amounts of like videos that you can show me of people just being like, "Oh my God, how devastating." During Eid, the holiest fucking day in Islam, they don't have fucking shelters to go to. They don't know if this is going to happen to their house. They don't know if their house is going to explode and they're going to be considered a fucking number, a casualty, another civilian death, another baby who's fucking killed in the crib. And then the justification from the IDF will be that the justification should be that that they just housed or had fucking Hamas member in the house. That's what it looks like. That's why it fucking blows my mind when people say, this is a complicated issue. This is a complicated issue. Like, how is this a fucking complicated issue, dude? I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like a complicated issue. Do people expect Israelis to leave Israel or to live with Palestinians in the same country? Or do most people think a two-state solution that personally I think might work? This is happening under a two-state solution, brother. The two-state solution is a fucking lie. That the two-state solution has been a fucking lie to justify the way that oh my God, what the fuck? Why did you send me that, dude? You fucked me up. You absolutely fucked me up. Look at this tweet. This is not me. Stop linking me this. How would I be in 1980? It literally looks like Poke. It's him. I can't believe he was alive. I can't believe he's Yoda. I gotta stop clicking links in the chat when I'm in the middle of something. An actual space frog. Can you go back to the house stream? If not, where did you find it? What do you mean? Fucking live.house.gov.
The pandemic hit. People who protest, including young children, are routinely shot by the IDF soldiers, often killed with
This is the two-state solution exactly at play because it allows for Palestine to get savaged and for them to carve up territory for security. Yup. That's why you hear fucking psychopathic Zionists in here that also say Israel has a right to defend herself against Hamas terrorists. Israel has a right to exist, two-state solution. That's why you hear like these motherfuckers who are literally proceeding and defending the act of ethnic cleansing simultaneously scream there should be a two-state solution. Yeah, bitch. If there was ever going to be two fucking equally powered states where people could live in their own fucking territories, but that's not happening, and it's never going to happen. It goes to show you, though, what motherfuckers mean when they say two-state solution. That's what they mean. He's saying, dude, come on, two-state solution. Like, Israel has a right to defend itself against Hamas terrorists, two-state solution. How will the Palestinians live with the Israelis? I think the real question is, the real reason why Israelis do not want a fucking one-state solution is because there's more Palestinians. There are more Muslims in the region. There are more refugees that have been displaced. And that's precisely the real reason why a one-state solution would never happen, okay? It's not because how will Palestinians live with Israelis? It's because how will Israelis live with the Palestinians? Much like how white people get fucking terrified when you give black people rights, because they think when black people, or much like how Nazis get fucking worried and say much like how Nazis get worried and say things like, oh, well, we're going to be a minority now, because they know what they did when they were the majority. So they're worried that they're going to do the exact same thing when they're no longer the fucking majority. When white people become a minority, we're going to get fucking subjected to the same kind of cruelty that we put everyone under. And that's precisely why there is no opportunity for a one-state solution, okay? That's why, because they're projecting, because they know what they're fucking doing right now. And of course, if the roles were reversed, that would be horrific and cruel. I wouldn't want that either, obviously. But that's precisely why motherfuckers don't want a one-state solution. Because if there was a one-state, and if it was democratic, it certainly wouldn't be exclusively occupied. The Knesset wouldn't exclusively be occupied by Israel and very few opponents of Israel. There's no path forward beyond either. There's only two paths forward, as always. This is how conflict is resolved. Either Israel is going to ethnically cleanse all Palestinians by murdering them, as they're doing right now and as they have been doing for a very long time, or there's going to be a one-state solution with equal rights and protections for all, with reparations on top of that given to Palestinians. That's it. No other way out of this. And unfortunately, just like what I believe is going to happen with America and our border policies, we are just going to go towards more and more cruel ways and subjugate the Palestinian people. It's never going to fucking happen. The other one is like, people look at me like I'm fucking crazy when I say this. A two-state solution? I don't know. Two Palestines seem like a lot of Palestines, but okay. Yeah, it's not happening. Yeah, I know it has begun. I know. I already talked about it. Yeah. IDF air and ground troops are currently attacking in the Gaza Strip. They're fucking flexing. I accidentally bought Diet Mountain Dew and now I actually like it. So what do we do? Just advocate for the U.S. to stay neutral? What? There is no neutrality. Inaction in the face of injustice is siding with the oppressor, which is what, like, we claim that we're doing, but we're not even doing that. We have never stayed neutral on this issue. We have always advocated and facilitated in Israel's ethno-state nation-building project. We are 100% on board with what the fuck Israel is doing to Palestinians, okay? You watch this fucking child get bombed. You watch the city get bombed. The curtains flying into the apartment with the shockwaves, and you recognize that we fucking paid for it, okay? We paid for it. We stopped other countries from ever saying something about it, and we still continue to defend it to this day. If there was a one-state solution, would there not be horrific racist actions against the Jews? Again, you are asking a question in a hypothetical situation that where like Jewish people would be subjected to the same kind of hatred that they subject Palestinians to in this day and age. Okay? So that's more of a self-report than anything else. Okay? War is about to start. War has started. It's basically no different than saying shit like, what if Hamas had an Iron Dome and nukes at the same time? Like, wouldn't it be justified to fucking blow them up now? Like, it's not a war. It's genocide. It's not a war. It's ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. There's 1,000 years of trauma that makes it a very valid concern. This doesn't justify the actions, but it does need to be addressed before a one-state solution. Okay, dude. I love the fucking baby ass woke language that people apply when they're talking about, like, listen, man. If we're talking about like building a fucking one-state solution, I'm not concerned with like the Palestinians operating like the Israelis do currently. I'm first and foremost concerned with reparations, okay? That's one way to fucking avoid the centuries of trauma, okay? How about that? Is that good? I'm more worried about the Jewish people attacking Palestinians at an individual or community-wide level if a single state was created. These people have been fed propaganda. It'll be hard to change them as people. I think a one-state solution is correct. Yeah. Like, literally, you're saying, I'm worried about... You keep saying, I'm worried about if Palestinians had the power. What if they do... What if they were to do the same things that we're doing to them? And when you fucking say that, you are already understanding the problem here. And the problem is what Israel is doing right now to the Palestinians. And by the way, this happened in apartheid South Africa as well. The casualty numbers are at 109 now, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. 28 children, 15 women have been killed in Gaza. 621 have been injured. You know, they're not targeting civilians, though, obviously, so... Do you think there's any shot of Biden defunding Israel? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Abso-fucking-lutely not, dude. Why the fuck? Why does India support Israel? Think about it. Why would one fascist state that is straight up genocidal against the Sikhs and also the Muslims that live within its borders be on board with another fascist genocidal state that is like actively doing ethnic cleansing to Muslims? Kind of hard, man. That's kind of weird that like, I don't know. I wonder why these two fascist leaders would be collaborating and be in support of one another, dude. Did you watch the Shabibo videos on this issue? No, it'll make me lose my mind. I don't want to watch it because it'll cause me, it'll make me have an aneurysm. And I don't want to have an aneurysm as I fucking watch Ben Shabibo justify genocide. Why are there so many fucking idiotic Turks that I've been seeing saying shit like this? It would be inhumane to not feel sorry after watching this, but all the blame can't be put on Israel. Hamas also bombed Israeli civilians, but they managed to protect themselves, so the video shows what would happen to Israelis if they weren't a developed nation. As in, like, what? If fucking there was another Israel that did Israel-like things to Israel? Is that what he's saying? Why are Turks like this? I'm so confused by fucking these baboon Turks that are like avid defenders trying to do both sides here. I guess maybe because like it's one way to justify I think maybe some of the Turks probably see this as like maybe some of the Turks see the similarities within the Turkish government's treatment of Kurds, so that's why they like feel like it would be hypocritical if they did not. I'm not dismissing the atrocities committed by Israel. I just think it's brain dead to advocate for a one-state solution because this obviously wouldn't work. Hamas openly calls for the killing of all Jews. I love this take because when I fucking turn around and talk about the extremist religious minorities in Israel that want to fucking openly kill all Arabs, you say, well, that's just a fucking extremist minority. But when it comes to the fucking Islamist fundamentalist Hamas, you're like, oh no, that represents all Palestinians. Like all Palestinians want to wipe out the Jews. Here's one way to fucking solve that problem. Okay, are you ready? Because I'm not even going to sit here and act like fucking all Palestinians love the Israeli government or Israel's people or anything like that. I'm not going to sit here and say that. Here's one way to solve that conflict. Stop fucking murdering them, dude. If you stop doing ethnic cleansing to a group of people, okay, that's widely fucking broadly condoned and sanctioned by a government, then the other group of people that are marginalized historically are not going to fucking hate you. But no, they're fucking sending ground troops instead. Isn't Hamas firing rockets from populated areas? How would Israel target them without civilian casualties? Okay. Is the only way to fucking stop rockets from being fired by literally firing rockets back? I'm so confused by this take. Like, is that Israel's only response to everything? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, why am I in a fucking loop all the time? If that's the case, then why the fuck has the rocket fire from Gaza not stopped? They've leveled half the fucking city. So what's up? Why hasn't it stopped, dude? Beyaz ulusalcı Türkler İsrail skiyi alarak Araplara söverek kendini Avrupalı ve Batılı hissediyorlar o yüzden. Aa, okey. The UN is going to meet on Sunday? Yeah, after the fucking casualties reach 1,000 by that point. Dude, America had one side that wanted to fucking continue enslaving black people and another side that was not fine with that to a certain degree. And, you know, there was conflict and endless amount of bloodshed. And look at us now, okay? It can happen. All right? People fight all the fucking time. Look at the entirety of Europe. Not a good example. I mean, it's fucking certainly better than Israel-Palestine. Stop saying horrible analogy. Literally every system that has been brought about in the aftermath of conflict is a better system than Israel-Palestine and what is going on currently in Israel and Palestine. Okay? I can't listen to the... Okay, I can't listen to the fucking Norm Finkelstein video because I get copyrighted whenever I do that. Hey, by the way, the new episode of Fear and Malding is out. I forgot to mention it. So I probably should right here. We got the new episode of Fear and Malding that's out already. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your fucking, wherever you get your subscription or wherever you get your podcasts. Also,
never know what they were. Okay. First, we can start off for the show.
And if we get an overwhelming show of support, we were thinking.
Yeah. Also, if we get to 5,000 reviews, it's on Spotify too, I think. But if we get to 5,000 5-star reviews on Apple and everywhere else, like, we will release these hentai body pillows to raise funds. We haven't decided what charity yet. Maybe for a Palestinian one, who knows? I mean, I don't know if we'll actually get to it by that time, but... yeah. Okay. Noam Chomsky debate? Dude, are you crazy? You think I'm going to watch a fucking... You think I'm going to watch a fucking... like, hour, 30-minute Noam Chomsky debate on this? That's crazy. This shot somewhere in your apartment, or do you have 2 Bernie props? No, I have 2 Bernie props. One of them I gave to Will, and we're using... No, this is not my apartment, dude. What the fuck? No, this is where I... No, this is where we shoot. It's like the podcast studio. Yeah, dude, I'm fucking caked up like that. I mean, you watched 3 hours of TLC? Yeah, that's actually fun. Dude, stop. Dude, you keep asking me, do you think Hamas and Israel planning together? Just asking. I'm almost certain that this motherfucker just created this account. Just either created this account because he's like delusional, or just created this account for me to say yes so we could just like, oh, it's the Turkish guy. Never mind. Okay. No, I don't think Hamas and Israel are planning this together. That's a fucking idiotic take. Okay? Stop just asking, bro. Okay? God damn, dude. Fucking Turks. What is happening here? Why is this not working?
With what our aid supports, we have to be honest and ask ourselves questions like why we are using our veto power and the UN Security Council in preventing statements from being released about concerns for this violence alike. The President and many other figures this week stated that Israel has a right to self-defense, and this is a sentiment that is echoed across this body. But do Palestinians have a right to survive? Do we believe that? And if so, we have a responsibility to that as well. And with that, I yield back to the representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words. It is now my honor to yield 3 minutes to the representative from Missouri, Ms. Cori Bush.
No, we're not selling the pillowcases yet. I said we're gonna release them to raise funds for a charity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. St. Louis and I rise today in solidarity with the Palestinian people and in memory of our brother, Bassem Masri, a Ferguson activist who was with us on the front lines of our uprising for justice following the police murder of Michael Brown Jr. Bassem was a St. Louis Palestinian. Bassem also lived in Jerusalem, Palestine. Bassem was one of us. He showed up ready. As a Palestinian, he was ready to resist, to rebel, to rise up with us as our St. Louis community mourned Mike Brown Jr.'s state-sanctioned murder, and as we demanded an end to the militarized police occupation of our communities. Palestinians know what state violence, militarized policing, and occupation of their communities.
I'm an Indian supporter, and I support every other take on the issue, but India is not oppressive against Sikhs, although the current government cracking down on Muslims, and yes, the ruling party pretty much supports it. Thank you for reading my message. What about the farmers, dude? Maybe not as bad as like Muslims, but pretty sure that's an ongoing issue. Sorry.
On the grass near where Michael Brown Jr. was murdered. And I remember them describing to us what to do when militarized law enforcement shot us with rubber bullets or when they tear gassed us. I remember learning that the same equipment that they used to brutalize us is the same equipment that we send to the Israeli military to police and brutalize Palestinians. I remember Bassem putting his life on the line with us. I remember him live streaming for the whole world to see our struggle. I remember our solidarity, and I remember the harassment, the extortion, the brutalization he faced for resisting with us. That harassment, that extortion, that brutalization by a heavily armed militarized presence in our community, that's what we fund when our government sends our tax dollars to the Israeli military. St. Louis sent me here to save lives. Bassem's loved ones and his community, our St. Louis community, sent me here to save lives. So that means we oppose our money going to fund militarized policing, occupation, and systems of violent oppression and trauma. We are anti-war, we are anti-occupation, and we are anti-apartheid, period. If this body is looking for something productive to do with $3 million instead of funding a military that polices and kills Palestinians, I have some communities in St. Louis City and in St. Louis County where that money can go, where we desperately need investment, where we are hurting, where we need help. Let us prioritize funding there. Prioritize funding life, not destruction. So today, we remember Bassem. We remember his resistance in the face of militarized police occupation as a St. Louisan and a Palestinian. We lost him to a health crisis, but we remember his words today. Until all our children are safe, we will continue to fight for our rights in Palestine and in Ferguson. We stand with you in solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you. May I inquire on how much time we have left?
The gentleman has 13 minutes.
Great, thank you very much. I would like to yield 3 minutes to a great colleague and mentor of mine, Representative Jan Schakowsky from Illinois.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I am horrified and saddened by the ongoing escalation of violence in Gaza and in Israel. We have now seen over 1,800 rockets being fired indiscriminately at Israel's citizens who are now fleeing for their lives. Yes, I believe that Israel does have a right to defend herself. Now 103 Palestinians and 7 Israelis are dead, including children. It is so painful, this cycle of violence that we see over and over again. Yes, I believe Israel does have the right to defend herself, but in the end, there are no winners. The United States can play a role. The Biden administration has dispatched the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, his name is Hadi Amr, to Israel, and he is, his job is to deal with the situation in Israel and Palestine, and I am hopeful that we will see a de-escalation and a ceasefire, but a return to status quo is simply not enough. Earlier this week, prior to the attacks, I was deeply disturbed by the intentional and the intended evacuation of Palestinian families, some of whom have been in their homes for decades. The Biden administration, through its National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, has also conveyed its consternation, its
What's going on with her, dude?
about the evictions, and has called and has urged the administration to remain heavily involved to secure to address the root causes of this violence, including ongoing evictions, displacements, and occupation as it works to secure a ceasefire. The violence must end now, and we must work to enable dialogue that can lead to a just, safe, and secure future for both Israelis and Palestinians. And I yield back.
Thank you very much for those words, Representative Schakowsky. It is now my honor to yield 3 minutes to Representative Chuy Garcia from the state of Illinois.
Thank you, Representative Pocan, to members of the body. The occupation must end, and there must be a just solution for both peoples. We cannot keep turning a blind eye to the practices that rob people of their generational homes and detaining children. Israeli and Palestinian families
look Turkish
want
as
to
fuck.
raise their children in safety.
I've officially decided this is the most Turkish-looking congressperson in America. It's crazy. Like, he literally looks like he's
While
just
the
straight
evictions
Turkish.
in West Jerusalem and the hostilities
Tam Türk değil mi lan?
around Al-Aqsa Mosque seem to have provoked the latest escalation and violence, we've got to take a hard look at how the situation has changed.
He
in
looks
recent
Mexican
years.
as fuck. He does,
The Biden
dude.
administration
This
must
dude is
reverse Trump's
straight out of Turkey.
detrimental
The way he
actions
looks is
and
straight
take
out of
steps to
Turkey.
ensure
The beard,
that
I mean, the
US
mustache and
aid to
everything, not beard,
Israel
sorry.
cannot be used for seizure.
I
or
know he's not
destruction
Turkish.
of
I'm just saying he looks so
Palestinian
fucking
homes.
Turkish.
We've also got to continue humanitarian aid to Palestinian territories. The use of
Mexicans are
war-grade weapons
Turks.
and the killing of civilians must stop. I've always strongly supported a rights-based approach and a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the current situation makes it more crucial than ever that we pursue viable pathways toward equality, self-determination, and peace. I sincerely thank Mr. Pocan and the Progressive Caucus.
I mean, why
for
do you
putting
think
the
we
special
love
hours
fucking
together. I
Recitas?
hope and
Because he
pray
looks so fucking
that death
Turkish.
and self-destruction will end, and that we may work on a peaceful solution centered on the humanity and the rights of all involved. I yield back to Representative Pocan.
Thank you very much for those words. It is now my honor to introduce from the state of Indiana, the extremely patient, because he's been here for nearly an hour waiting to speak, Representative Andre Carson.
Thank you, Congressman Pocan.
Recitas
Mr.
isn't
Speaker,
Mexican though? Yeah, I
rise
know,
today
dude. He's
in
Spanish.
solidarity
All
with
I'm
the
saying is like
Palestinian people
there's like a lot of Hispanic
they
and
face
Latin American people that
grave
just like look
injustices,
very Turkish, and Turkish people look like
violence,
Hispanic and Mexican
and
or
certainly
Hispanic
abuse.
and Latin American people.
And I join the countless people around the world, Mr. Speaker, who are vehemently opposed to the planned forced evictions of Palestinians in Sheikh Jarrah.
Damn, these dudes
and
are like
saddened by the escalating violence that threatens Israelis and Palestinians alike. We must condemn all forms of violence and mourn the loss of both Palestinian lives and Israeli lives. I stand here today as one of 3 Muslims serving in Congress on Eid Day, heartbroken to see the attacks on worshipers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of the holiest sites of Islam, and our holiest month of the year by the Israeli government. For decades, Israel has violated international law and basic
why
human
are
rights
Democrats just like
through its
straight up ripping into
systematic
Israel right now? I'm
displacement
kind of surprised.
of Palestinians. For too long, America has looked the other way as Israel has engaged in this horrific campaign against Palestinians. Now, Israel is our security partner. In fact, the U.S. alone gives Israel billions of dollars per year. But we must make sure that our taxpayer dollars are not being used to fund human rights violations. Enough is enough. America has a moral obligation to use our influence to protect the victims of human rights violations, including the Palestinian people. And we must work to strengthen our work to bring peace to this region. This is our moral responsibility to do the right thing. It's not about Jews versus Muslims or Israel versus its neighbors. It's about right versus wrong. And let me be clear, Israel's decade of forced displacement is wrong. That's why we're working hard in Congress to make things right. Our American government must enforce international law and our own foundational principles. And our allies, like Israel, must be held accountable for human rights violations. Now, we're going to keep working hard in
All right,
Congress.
who's going to shit on
pass
Joe Biden, though?
much-needed legislation that achieves accountability,
Like,
equality,
were we not?
and justice
Were we
for
not
all.
there, dude? Listen. By the way,
America
for the record,
is great, powerful, probably the greatest nation in recorded history. But America's complex. It's a complicated work in progress. For centuries, she has engaged in and enabled the mistreatment of countless people, from the slavery enshrined in this Constitution against Africans, to the taking of land from Native Americans, or the shameful support of dictators beyond our shores. But today, we face an inflection point a reckoning of whether we will stand up for the values we claim to cherish or if we will turn a blind eye to repeated violations of human rights. We cannot turn our backs now. We must recognize that this is an international struggle and stick by the words of Dr. King when he said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I'm thankful for Dr. King and for the long list of great Americans who have
Okay, but who's going to shit on Joe Biden? Can trust Hassan to ask the important questions?
Toward justice.
Well, I mean, one way out of this conflict is by directly fucking attacking the source that you were supposed to be moving to the left, as you claimed you were going to do when we fucking elected you as a representative. And that motherfucker straight up does not give a shit about Palestinians. Not convinced that he knows Palestinians exist as human beings. So, kind of important for the Democratic caucus to literally fucking be like, hey, Joe Biden, if you are supposedly a progressive person, then perhaps you should, you know, back up the values that you supposedly espouse. Joe Biden. They should be saying, Joe Biden, you have 2 years. They should be saying, Joe Biden. Is Mohammed Khalaqin, full face of Kurdistan. And it's top of the hour, every hour, where there's a 60-second ad break. And the ad break is not 2 years, not 1 year, but only 60 seconds. And if you'd like to no longer see the ad, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do it for $5 or you can do it for free with a Twitch Prime. That transition was very good from Mohammed Khalaqin, full face of Kurdistan. Here is the ad break now. Get those Twitch Primes out or use a ad block VPN. You know, here is the ad break now. Joe Biden.
Speak. Yet Israel's disproportionate response to Hamas's attacks, destroying entire buildings and public spaces, is exacerbating this horrible cycle of violence. These airstrikes, which have already resulted in the deaths of civilians and at least 38 women and children, must stop. We need a ceasefire now, and the United States must help bring one about. Beyond stopping the immediate violence, the United States must also urge Israel to support the creation of a
come on, Joe
Palestinian
Biden
state,
talked to the regional
the only way
leaders.
to end this cycle of violence for good.
And Netanyahu promised he would be swift with his cleansing.
And creeping de facto annexation is unjust and not sustainable. The forced eviction of Palestinian families in East Jerusalem are wrong. And it's not the first time that events like we saw last week in Sheikh Jarrah. Prime Minister Netanyahu's right-wing government. Can I get 30 more seconds?
I think if you can squeeze it out because it's the end of our hour.
Sure.
Ben's time has expired.
I'll just wrap up by saying that I hope and pray for peace. I want to thank my colleague, Rashida Tlaib. I think part of what's been missing in this Congress is hearing from Palestinian voices. I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired. Okay. Under the Speaker's
I was taught that the founding of Israel was something not
policy of
totally
January
negative because I'm
4th,
Jewish. However, the occupation and
2021,
murder
the chair
obviously have made me
recognizes
question
the
this, and now I'm not
gentleman
sure
from
whether I've been
Arizona,
lied
Mr.
to.
Schweikert, for 30 minutes.
So what do you think? Was the founding negative? I mean, it's always going to be negative when you bring in 300,000 people into an area where other people live and then, start fucking burning neighborhoods and shit, no matter what happens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tonight I'm going to.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter in my point of view, and people might get mad at me for this because, like, despite the fact that I advocate for a one-state solution, people get upset at me when I say that I do believe that Jewish people have a right to have a nation state, like the international Jewish diaspora deserves to have a nation state of its own. It's just that, like, you can't have a nation state, as I keep repeating myself over and over again, on the backs of Palestinian people by murdering and ethnically cleansing and displacing Palestinian people.
Of that let's call it that $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years.
Let's hear what the Republicans have to say about this.
They claim to have about $3 trillion in tax increases coming to pay for it. The reality, and I'll hopefully be able to do this over the next couple of weeks as we try to get more details and work through it line by line, it also requires that you hit every mark on the revenue raised, that all sorts of programs expire, which is really unlikely around here, and also certain spending expires. It's just not real. So our top of the napkin math right now is, at best over the 10 years, it's a couple $1 trillion of new revenues. Well, one of the set of revenues it's being discussed is, well, let's tax the wealthy. Okay. Except when you walk through the math there, let's raise capital gains tax, let's raise basis, let's raise individuals' income tax, and also then you add in, let's raise taxes on corporations. Fine. But we're already starting to see the data coming in saying just going to the 28% on the corporate tax rate is 1 million jobs over the next 24 months. Okay, so the Democrat Party wipes out 1 million jobs and takes, I think it was a little less, like 119 billion or something off just the GDP from those 2 years. And you start to lay out, that's just the corporate income tax. Now start to do the capital gains, which the beauty of capital gains is it's risk-taking. It's the type of investment that makes the working poor less poor. It's the type of investment that takes risk that makes us more productive. Because you all remember your high school economics class. What are the 2 ways a worker gets paid more? Inflation, which means you got paid more, but it didn't get you anything, or productivity. And without that risk capital, you lose that productivity investment. So, if the Democrats really intend to spend that much money and really intend to keep driving up the debt and deficits the way they are, I want to make a modest proposal of where they could find some offsets. And I'm shocked this isn't discussed more around here. Instead of marching in and saying, we're going to tax rich people, even though much of that money actually goes to create jobs and investment.
Is he actually just talking about the deficit in regards to, like, Israel? Like, is that what he's doing? Like, or did they just, like, turn around and they're no longer talking about it? Like, leave it to a Republican to be like, guys, we can't be deficit. Or is he just talking about taxes now? Like, we changed topics, right?
Send you back the cash. I'm going to show you one board where individuals with multi-million dollar houses on the beach then get dramatically subsidized flood insurance from the federal general fund. And over and over and over. If this is the path the Democrats intend to go, could they consider cutting spending?
No, I don't want to watch this. Okay, yeah, he's trying to defend austerity. Okay, he's trying to defend austerity measures. Here's the Colonial Pipeline updates,
is
boys.
getting worse across the southeast.
We got more news
it should
still.
end soon. Drivers have been lining up at gas stations for days since a cyber attack shut down the main pipeline for the East Coast. Well, this morning, the Colonial Pipeline is open again. Our lead national correspondent, David Begnaud, is outside a Colonial Fuel facility in Woodbridge Township, New Jersey. David, good morning.
Good morning. We are right near the finish line, Vlad. It starts down in Houston, comes up all the way to New Jersey where we are. The fuel is coming. That is the announcement this morning. And boy, doesn't it sound good. Haven't we all seen how hackers can disrupt things, drive up the price of gas, cause panic at the pumps? Now that it's restarted, how long should it take to get back to normal? 3, maybe 5 days. But it's back up and running. All of that panic at the pump seemed to be reaching a tipping point at gas stations across the Southeast.
It's like the toilet paper fiasco all over again.
According to Gas Buddy, North Carolina is getting hit the hardest. 74% of its stations are facing outages. Half of the stations are out in Georgia, and it's even higher in South Carolina and Virginia.
There is fuel available. It's just when everybody's buying it at the same time, due to hysteria, then it creates gaps in the supply chain, and that's just what we're seeing here.
For now, it appears the